What's up, fam? Welcome to another edition of God Dreamers, where it is our desire to inspire you to find and activate your God-given purpose through sharing stories, testimonies, and having discussions on today's trending topics. So, hi, I am your host, Todd.
Hey, and I'm Jairus.
All right, so today's topic, I'm really excited about this one because in my latter years, I've always wondered and still wondering, about purpose and am I operating in purpose? And so today's topic is going to be focused around that, about purpose versus career and how God uses our work to shape our calling. And I love that because sometimes when we'll talk about this more, that sometimes we may be doing things that we may not like, but nevertheless, those things can still help us. But anyway, I don't want to get too much into that. So I'll pass it on to you, Jairus.
Yeah, today we're really just going to go into a few topics. I think like what you were saying a little bit earlier, that I'm excited for this topic because I feel like a lot of people go through the same struggles when it comes to what is my purpose? Does my career align with my purpose? Or what am I supposed to be doing with my life, and so on and so forth. So I think this will be a great conversation just to help you guys out. Hopefully we can give you some clarity on what we believe God is saying when it comes to your purpose and how that checks in with your life when it comes to, like I was saying earlier, just like your career path, where you are in your life, if you're still in college or if you're actually in the workforce and things like that. But a few points we just want to touch on is like why so many people feel stuck or misaligned, the biblical difference between purpose and careers. That's a big one. And really just how God uses ordinary work and how he uses that to unlock extraordinary calling. So I think we have a lot in store for you guys. I hope you guys enjoy it. But like you were saying before, just to start things off, it's a lot of tension when it comes to finding your purpose and really what you're supposed to be doing, because it's like in your mind, it's like a battle. It's like a tug of war. It's like, am I supposed to be doing this? Am I supposed to be doing that?
Yeah.
Is this for me, or is this what God told me to do? So it's like a tug of war going on in your mind, at least in my mind, every single day. And if you ask me, what, a year ago, 2 years ago, I would have no idea what my purpose was. I was lost. I hated my job. Ask any family member of mine, especially my dad here or my mom, like I would complain every single day. It's like, yo, Lord, like, or like parents, like dad, mom, like what am I supposed to be doing? Like I feel a little stuck. I'm in a position where I feel like I can't leave. I want to provide for the family and, work obviously and get money to provide, but it's like I am hurting right now because it's not where I feel like I should be. But that is me in my career stages, at least, like I said, 2 years ago. Right now, I feel a little bit more called to my purpose. I'm still not 100% sure this is my path, but I think one thing that God does is he'll create crazy avenues and paths for you that you do not expect. And that's where I'm at really currently at my job, is because I never thought I would be working in finance. I never thought I'd be doing that. I mean, obviously I went to school for marketing, but the job market was so bad getting out of school. I never thought I was going to be, actually have a marketing job and actually doing some digital marketing, working on websites, working on social media, things like that. And everything just came together perfectly where I get the best of both worlds. So I'm very blessed to be in the position where I'm at right now. And like I said earlier, like I'm not really 100% sure that this is my 100% purpose in life, but I feel a little bit more, confident on the path that I'm going. So
Yeah.
how do you feel about like where you are in your life currently?
Well, I want to step back just a little bit because
Yeah, definitely.
you mentioned something about, wondering if, are you in your purpose right now? And this is the question that I want to pose to our listeners and our viewers. And that is, because sometimes we always get so caught up in like, I don't know if I'm in my purpose. I hate my job. I don't, blah, 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 blah. But this is the question that I pose. So my question is, what if your job isn't your purpose, but the place where your purpose is revealed.
Hmm. That's a good one.
That's a good one.
Oh, that was a bar right there.
That's a good one. We'll have silence for a moment. I
Wow.
love that question
Yeah. I
because
agree though. I agree.
yeah, I love that question because it opens the door
Hmm.
to allowing God to h- allowing God to help you explore things and opportunities and experiences to help you
Hmm.
establish and determine your purpose, right? Sometimes we see
Yeah.
a bad job as a bad job and there's no hope, there's no future, it's
Hmm.
horrible. I'm just wasting time here. And maybe you are,
Hmm.
but if you think of it in the sense that, well, is this a stepping stone to where I need to be, as
Hmm.
opposed to this is slowing me down and stop me from where I need to be? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, 100%. And I believe everything happens for a reason. So I might not like you were saying, like the point you were making. I might not have enjoyed that job, but it definitely gave me experience, at least in the corporate world. It gave me new skills to talk to people, sales aspects, and other things, those soft skills or hard skills, those things that's intangible. I think I received from that. So I'm very thankful to have the job. But like you said, without the job, it probably wouldn't open up these doors I have now. So
Yeah.
100%, like, yeah, God, that's what I'm saying. God works in mysterious ways because I feel like I probably wouldn't be where I'm at if I didn't get that job, to be honest. So
Yeah.
it's very interesting how that works. Like, and that point
It
where
does.
you
Yeah.
just made it.
'Cause I'll give you a short story. When I first got out of college, it took well, relatively speaking for me, it took a long time for me graduating. I graduated, in May. I didn't find a job until January the following year. So that's a
Mm,
long time,
yeah.
um, of looking. And in the meantime, I had to make some money. So
Yeah.
I was working at a restaurant. I was sweeping floors. I was delivering groceries. Um, and at times I felt like, man, I went to college to be electrical engineer and I am sweeping floors and bussing tables and washing
Yeah.
dishes
Yeah. I remember you
and
telling me.
delivering groceries. Um, so at times I felt like, man, am I, I did all this college stuff and I can't get a job. And I just felt kind of hopeless for a little while. But the weird thing about it is when I look back at it now, fast forward 1800 years later, I'm glad that I went through that because it was
Hmm.
a time of humility,
Yeah.
and a time to explore skill sets that may not be glamorous, but skill sets, nevertheless, skill sets like working with people. I'm delivering groceries. That whole process of getting that delivered and so forth, or sweeping floors and making sure things were clean for those things I kind of learned from, and I may not appreciate it at the time, but looking back on it, I appreciate that I uh, went through that just to
Hmm.
teach me to be humble and to also to teach me to make the most of every opportunity.
Yeah. That's that's
Yeah,
real.
yeah,
So I remember you telling me that too because I was kind of in the same type of situation. Just graduated college and it took months literally to find a job, and I was working, bussing tables in the cooking in the kitchen. So it's funny how we kind of live a similar life in a sense, and then we finally find a job. But when you found that job, like, well, did you feel like your purpose was being fulfilled in, or how was that feeling when you finally found that job and
man. When I found
where
that
you are
job, I was
now?
like, yeah, I just found a job. I can get my life back on track again. Um, I didn't think about purpose, man, at that
Really?
time. I don't know, man.
Interesting.
It did not come across my mind. I was thinking about career,
Mhm.
but not purpose. I was
Mm.
thinking about, making enough money to buy a house, make enough money to, get a car. I was just thinking in that light. I was
Mhm.
not thinking about, am I doing what God's called me to do? And at that time,
Mhm.
I didn't really have a strong relationship with God anyway. I mean, I went to church and I did all the traditional things, but we weren't, I wasn't seeking guidance as far as those types of things. I was just kind of following the Western way of, building your career and going after, being successful.
Hmm.
So I didn't even think about purpose at that time, not at that stage in my life.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So that
The
leads that what's that?
sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that leads into the second segment
Yeah.
of purpose versus career because,
Hmm.
like you said, was I thinking about purpose at the time? And I wasn't. I mean, what about you?
Um, that's interesting because I felt like I always was seeking purpose from a young age. Um, Maybe I didn't really understand the full understanding of purpose compared to now, maybe. But I always had like a what am I supposed to be doing with my life type of thought processes. It
Yeah.
wasn't it was like I said, like a teenager too, because I remember like we were starting a brand or whatever called Rich for One Purpose. So like, and I remember like even as a kid drawing clothes and things like that. So like I always had, and in my head I was like, yeah, I'm going to be a fashion designer. I'm going to do this and that, and I felt like that was my purpose, or what I was supposed to be doing with my life. But like I said, it felt like it's a little bit different now. Actually understanding what wants for my life and career passions and the purpose, I guess, like the two meanings behind that, because I think it was a little bit different. But I just always felt like I had a calling in my life to do something, but I just never knew what it exactly was. And I, I truly feel the same way now. Like I feel like it's something calling for my life, a big purpose, and I'm still trying to find that thing that I guess to fulfill that purpose or fulfill that internal desire. Like, oh yeah, I'm finally doing what I feel like God's put me on this earth to do. But I think, and I do want to share, like, I guess this Bible verse that goes
Mhm.
into it, Jeremiah 1:5. It says, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart, appointed you as a prophet to the nations. So that just kind of, to me, that just proves that whatever God has in your life or his purpose for your life, he already knew before you were born, and he already know the pathway that you're going to take to fulfill that purpose as well. So I think the biggest thing to come out of this conversation really is just like seek God, because he actually knows what your purpose is, and he'll guide your steps and direct your path. And that's one prayer I say like every morning is like, direct my steps, or, order my path, Lord. Help
Mhm.
me fulfill your purpose that you have for me. And I feel like every day is something new. It's like, I did not expect this to happen. And it's actually kind of helping me out on my journey, because like I said, God works in mysterious ways. Is like, I did not expect this to happen, or I
Yeah.
didn't expect this news, or, things like that. So for me personally, just seek God in a sense, and always pray for him to order your steps and direct your paths, because I feel like it's the quickest way to find your purpose.
Yeah. I agree, man. I agree. God made us, so he knows what he made us for.
Mm,
And the challenge is having a relationship with God so that can be revealed. But he gives you
mm,
clues along the way,
yeah.
even when we may not necessarily be close to God. He's still with his uh, unconditional love, still gives you clues
Hmm.
of what that purpose may be. And it's through the skills, through the talents that you have, and those things that you are passionate about. There are clues. They're not the full purpose, but they're clues to the purpose, right? And
Hmm.
so I think if and having a relationship with God helps you to find that much sooner than later, but also helps you to steer you in the right direction, because you can actually have these skill sets and
Hmm.
abilities that could be used against the purpose of God for your life, right? And
Yeah,
so
definitely.
you have to be very careful and conscious, and and be intentional about seeking God for guidance, as far as fulfilling your purpose. So that leads to this next
Hmm.
statement, scriptural foundation. That is, work is worship. And I love that because
Mm,
many times we don't feel like work is worship.
yeah.
Work is work. But in Colossians 3:23, it says, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord, not for human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance for the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving. And that's a deep scripture.
Yeah.
And it always pops up in my mind when I feel like slacking off.
Hmm.
Like, I don't feel like doing this, so I'm not going to put 100% into it. But then that
Yeah.
scripture always pops up and says, you're not doing this for your boss
Hmm.
or your coworker. You're doing it for the Lord, and He sees your heart. He sees your intentions. He sees your actions. So it's a quick way to kind of get back into line, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And doing things, um, for God, and being about excellence, right? In your work and everything that you do. And
Hmm.
I encourage everybody that's watching this that even if you hate your job, still be about
Yeah,
excellence.
agree.
Get to work on time. Be there, ready to rock and roll when it's time to rock and roll, and when it's time to leave, don't be so quick to leave right at the hour.
Hmm.
Just be about excellence, and
Hmm.
and and God will reward you for that.
I agree.
But sometimes it's a challenge, though. Like especially if people, your job people are getting on your nerves, and maybe those people are not doing what they're supposed to do, and you have to kind of fill in the gap for them.
Yeah,
But just no matter what, just keep doing, just being all that you can be, because God will take care of the rest.
yeah. And that's one thing I'm happy that I joined the military because those are some things that I learned as a skill set and it's still instilled in me to this day. Just like don't be complacent, having that don't fix nothing or don't pass anything that needs to be fixed. Like always be on alert, always looking for, like progress, always looking for enhancing yourself in a sense.
Yeah,
Cause yeah, that was one thing, like, especially like what I was saying, being complacent, like, yeah, just go all in it with all your heart because you never know what that can lead you. Like you don't know who's watching in that case. So
yeah,
if you put in 100% effort, your boss might be like looking at you as like, oh, he's a great worker. He's always here on time. He does this and that. And you might get that next promotion and you never thought you would get it. So just never be complacent. If you're having a bad time at a job or anything like that, just don't give up and get lazy because once you hit that complacent mark, that's when bad things start happening. That's when you could get fired. That's when you could receive less hours or so on and so forth. There's so many negative things that can come around being complacent. So that's one thing I always learned out of the military because one day you be lazy on watch, one day or next second you're gone. You know what I mean? Like you can run into a mountain, you can miss something that was blatantly on the screen and you were like, whatever, it's nothing. I've heard this or I've seen this before so many times. Let me
yeah.
just whatever. So that's just like the biggest thing I learned from the military. And that's why I feel like me going into the military was another part of my purpose as well, to learn those skill sets and really
Hmm.
shape me to be the man I am now. And I'm happy to be in that selective group to go on a submarine and do those cool things because I learned a lot that I probably would never learn just being in the outside world and just regular corporate America or just being a regular civilian. But I wanted to bring a new question because this is something that always battle in my mind as well. How did you navigate the tension between providing for your family and pursuing God and pursuing what God has stirred in your heart? Like, what was that sacrifice to, obviously provide, but also fulfill that purpose or go down um, that pathway that you want to fulfill your purpose?
Um,
Or are you still going through that?
yeah, I don't think I've arrived. It's been a journey
Mhm.
for me. My biggest priority has been to make sure that I take care of my family, as an adult and as a family man. That was the biggest priority. So that's always been a concern of mine. and feeling like that I had to be the source of income and the
Mhm.
breadwinner and all those things. But God quickly reminded me when I lost my job. He
Yeah.
quickly reminded me that the job is not my source, but He is my source, and so He snatched. I'd never, early on in my career, man, I had plenty. I missed a whole bunch of layoffs. Always, I was always the one kept on.
Mhm.
But then later on, God allowed me to get laid off, and it really shook me in the sense that I, I really, I am not in control, and things do happen, and sometimes things happen in a way that you're could be very fearful or scared.
Mhm.
Especially in my case of being, your mom was at home at the time, and so I was providing for the family. And then when I got laid off, I was like, okay, what am I going to do here? First thing was I'm going to go find a job, go look for a job, and I could not find a job at all. I
Mhm.
said, okay, Lord, what is going on? And so I had to really just lean on God,
Mhm.
because everything that I was doing, that the system or the culture says to do, was not working. Yeah,
Mhm.
I was putting in my resumes. I was going to, getting tied into the system to get monies to help cover the cost. But I was, going on job interviews, and every single time it just fell through. It fell through, and then finally, um, I started saying, okay, well, if I'm not going to get a job. I can't just sit here and wait around. So started doing things that are outside my career at the time. I was, an engineer doing design work, in systems, and low, component level systems, and they're going into for the military. And then I ended up start doing like installing TVs and putting up projectors and things of that nature, totally outside of what I thought I would be doing. But um, God opened up that door for me to develop that skill set. But also he showed me to trust him and
Mhm.
not trust my abilities and not trust other people, because he is ultimately my source. He's our source. And so that's one of the shifts that I had to kind of really fully understand at that time, was that the job, although it brings in money, is not the source. God is the source. And God uses the
Mhm.
job to bring money into you. But if that job goes away, He's still the source, and He will provide
Mhm.
for you in other areas that you may not even expect. But you have to be willing and open to change gears or shift gears, and be humble enough to say, well, okay, the opportunity might be in an area that it's not even what I study for, or an area that I'm not even interested in. Because at the time, I was interested in the AV space, but it was just like more like a hobby type thing. I didn't know
Mhm.
that that was going to be a career path for me, but I was open to do those things, and not, be prideful and say, well, I don't want to do that because that's not what I want to do. But I was like, I'm
Mhm.
open to do it because
Mhm.
it was an opportunity to do it. And so that's how it kind of, I went down that path. But to answer your question about the tension, I think, I don't think it there. Sometimes you have resistance, in your family, like your wife, in a lot of cases, women like to have some security, in the household. And so when insecurity, or if things feel uncertain, they get a little nervous about it. But
Mhm.
if you just let them know that God is our source, then they get a little bit better. And I think with your mom, that she kind of knew that no matter what happens, no matter how it looks, God's going to take care of us, and He did. He did.
Mhm.
And so I would say, if there was any intention, it was more of tension of the unknown. But we just trusted God in that situation, which gave us a peace of mind that no matter what happens, even if it came down to losing a home or getting kicked out, which fortunately that didn't happen. But I'm just saying, even to that point, you just have to trust God no matter what.
Mhm. Wow, that's real. And I think that's something that I battle all the time, and I think we're okay in that sense of trusting God that everything's gonna pan out on, the way that it should, the perfect timing and things like that. So that's a great point. And I think you made another great point too when it comes to um sometimes it sometimes we just need to lean on God for those changes in scenery or changing or switching careers or whatever. I guess in this sense, chasing your purpose for your life. But it's like
Uh,
three examples that I want to talk about. It's like
mhm.
some biblical patterns with Abraham. He was caught out of comfort. Moses caught out of hiding, and then the disciples caught out of their careers. So we know Moses, he wasn't really the talkative type. I remember in the Bible, he was always questioning God, like, why me? I hate talking. I hate being in
Yeah,
front of people. I do not want this. And, he had his brother, I guess, to help him out with that.
yeah.
But he was called out of fighting because he didn't want to do that. And God, called him where his place was to be a big, um, I guess, influence or person of interest in the Bible and his story. As long, like I said, as as long with Abraham and the disciples as well, where they were doing something totally different, and then God had a specific purpose for them, and then look how God used them to fulfill their purposes in their lives as well. So I think a few things that we just had to think about is sometimes we are called in difficult times, and that's really what's like the saying, the pressure makes diamonds. I think that's really the best time for us to really hone in on that belief system that you're going to be okay, and at the same time is that sign that you need to move on to and really trust God and move on what He has in purpose or direction that He has for your life as well. But there's a few things that I do want to talk about when it comes to like some bullets that signs it may be time to move. And the first one is like persistent restlessness. The second one is loss of grace for the current assignment, new opportunities aligning with your gifts, wise counsel conforming with the shift, and then God stirring a dream that won't let go. So I think
Mhm.
those are a few things that you can just think about. It's like, is this actually going on with my life? Is God, changing my way of thinking, like to pertain to these shifts that may be happening in my life? So,
Yeah. And you
um,
forgot one, man.
oh, did I miss one?
Yeah. I'm just this is the one to add to it. If you get fired.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Or laid off in that sense too.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. In your
Well, I
case,
mean,
definitely
I guess there's some parameters to that, right? I mean, you can get fired because you're underperforming,
for
but
sure, for
sometimes you
sure.
get fired for overperforming, right? So,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, you're doing too much.
yeah,
So yeah, I mean obviously that is a sign to move because it's very blatant. You have
yeah,
no other choice. But is that a bad thing though? Like I think abrupt or changes in habitat or habits, changes in emotions, things like that. I think it's all considerations we need to take account of. And it's like, maybe God is talking to me to make a change, and maybe I need to pray a little bit more and see if that is something. Because I think a lot of people, and this could be a misconception, that they say, "Oh, God told me to do this and that," and I feel like a lot of people can get misconstrued, or they're listening to half of their heart instead of the full heart, or like it's really just
uh
is I at the end of the day, I think obviously just praying and making sure that you're making the best decision before you abruptly just do that change. I think without any discipline to talk to God and actually understand what He wants for you, can lead you a path that you didn't really want to go with. Do you think that's true in that case? Like when people jump the gun, when it's like, oh, God told me to quit my job and they really have no plan, but they said like God told me to, in a sense.
yeah. That's a tough one, man. Sometimes God will tell you to quit your
Hmm.
job.
Definitely, definitely.
Sometimes he'll tell you to do things that are contrary to common sense. Um, so it's a tough one. I mean, I think if a person has a true relationship with God, that can happen. But there are other
Hmm.
times when people think they've heard from God and they actually haven't, and make those decisions. So it's not for me to make that call.
Yeah.
I just say if you feel like God is calling you to step away from your job, then He'll have provision in place for you to do so. Even
Mhm.
though sometimes the, you may not fully understand that, and there'll be circumstances around that pushing you to step out in faith. There'll be some forces that are going on um, that will help you to make that decision. Um, it's but it's hard for me to say if that person is right or wrong for
Yeah, yeah,
doing
I'm not telling you if they're
that.
right or
Yeah,
wrong,
yeah.
but I'm just saying
But
I've seen situations where, they feel like God is telling them to do something, and it may not be what He wants you to do.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, that's why it's so important to have a relationship with him, and that's why it's so important to spend time with him, so that when you do when he does call you to do these things, then you have assurance that that's
Mhm.
what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
but
That was the
uh,
point, but, one last question, I think this could be a good final question. If you could go back and tell your younger self one thing about your purpose and work, what would it be? And why do you think God waited until later to show you that?
oh wow. So my younger self what was that?
No, I'm just laughing because you're like, "Oh."
Yeah, I would say for my younger self, I would say that slow down and not get caught up into the culture, the culture mindset of careers and success. I think that was so instilled in me, and I'm not saying it was a wrong thing because you have to think about the generations,
Mhm,
previous to that, especially in the African American community. My parents came out of their parents were sharecroppers and well, I don't say all of them were, but they came from that generation of working the land. Now, my dad's father he was one of the early technology guys. He worked in communications he did, what did he do? Uh, gosh, I can't remember the technology, but anyway, it was in the field of communications. But that mindset was, you know, go to college, get an
mhm,
education, so that you can have a good life. You make plenty of money and do all this good stuff. And so a lot of times when you do that route, you're picking careers that not saying everybody does that, but in my case, I was picking a career that I knew that I would do well in. And I had interest in it. Don't get me wrong. I
mhm,
I had interest in being an electrical engineer because that's what my dad came out of that same environment. So I had interest there, but I was also knew that becoming an engineer is a good career path to go if you want to make good money.
mhm.
And so, so that was my driving force of,
Yeah,
pursuing that because I knew that that would be a great path for me to do well financially.
mm,
So I wasn't thinking about purpose at that time. And so I would tell my 21 self to say, hey, yes, these things that you're pursuing is great, but what do you think God has called you to do while you're on this planet? And how can and if you want to still pursue that, how can you use God's calling in your life in that job that you're currently pursuing, right?
mhm.
So that would be my advice to my younger self.
Okay, nice. Nice, nice, nice.
But I wanted to
Um,
say one quick thing
yeah,
too,
yeah.
um, about purpose. These are a couple of key points I want to make sure everybody understands, and that is, purpose is more of an identity or an assignment or God's intention for your life. A career is more of a role or a platform or even a season or a tool. And then, the thing about careers that careers change, but purpose particularly do not change. They may morph into a certain area, but the intent is still there for purpose.
Mhm,
And then sometimes God will hide your purpose through work. Um, and he'll give you you need to go through these certain jobs and experiences so that you'll have the proper skills and the ability so that you can really fulfill your purpose. For example, if you think about David, David was a shepherd. He was
Mhm,
taking care of sheep and he was, you know, killing off predators and so forth. But that purpose that he had, taking care of sheep, was applied when he became king. So he became a protector of Israel. Um, by fighting off all of Israel's enemies, like the lion, all the predators, so to speak, and then
mhm,
the love for the people of Israel. Well, he was taking care of the lambs and the sheep, and
mhm,
that represents the love for people. And so he took that and applied that for his kingdom. And so those skills that he learned at that humble beginning, he applied later on in
mhm,
life. And so I think don't don't take lightly the experiences that you're dealing with, even though they
mhm,
feel like they're not helping you. I
mhm,
think they're all pieces of a puzzle. It's almost like our life is like a puzzle
mhm,
that's been exploded, and this God gives you all these pieces of the puzzle, but it's up to us to put the puzzle together to kind of fully understand our purpose. And each piece is an experience or a skill set or an
mhm,
opportunity that we can use. And as we put them together, we actually fulfill the purpose of that puzzle by
mhm,
creating that puzzle or seeing what that puzzle turns out to be, right? And I
mhm,
think sometimes we get frustrated because the piece that we're currently holding is totally different from what we want to do or feel like doing. But that piece is critical for that puzzle because if you don't have that piece, that puzzle's never complete. You know what I mean?
mm.
So I feel like
That's deep.
I think that's how, we have to fully um, grasp our purpose. And it's a journey. I don't think we ever arrive.
Mm,
I think as long as we live, our purpose is unfolding before us. And the
yeah,
other thing I want to mention too is that sometimes we get so deep with purpose, like, because we're equating purpose with a career, but purpose does
mhm,
not equate to a career. It equates to an identity, and our
mhm,
identity is in Christ. And so it all falls into where God wants us to be. And it's ultimately for his kingdom. It's not for, solely making a lot of money or solely
yeah,
being the best baseball player or solely being the best lawyer. All those things are important, but they're just pieces of the puzzle to help you fulfill what God has called you to do. And you can start early. You can start early. And I mentioned this in another podcast is that, just be kind to people, pray for people. Um, use your gifts and talents. If you have a lot of money, then use that money to sponsor somebody on a trip somewhere, or feed the homeless, or these simple things that we tend to take for granted, don't think about. They actually could be a part of the purpose that God is giving you. I think of it this way too. And this was kind of a revelation or illumination I had a few weeks back. I was in my quiet time, and I felt like God was telling me that we're all called to be like special ops. If you think about a special ops soldier, they have a certain task to do, a certain thing to accomplish, and they've done all their training. They didn't just one day say, I'm special ops." No, they had to go through all this training to
yeah,
develop all the skill sets in order to complete the task or complete the assignment. I think that we're all called to be special ops in our particular area so that we can complete the assignment. But we have to go through the training. We have to go through the experiences. We have to go through the things that we don't want to do. Because if you're in special ops, they're doing a lot of things that they don't want to do. It don't feel good and it ain't fun at all. But sometimes you have to go through those things so that you can be prepared, so that when God gives you the assignment, then you have all the tools, all the resources, and it's his spirit with you so that you can successfully complete the assignment. So we all are special ops soldiers, man. So anyway, I'm done.
man, that's like a standing ovation. Like you hit the nail on the head right there with that one, especially with the part where you said the puzzle and every
Yeah.
little thing that you do is like a little piece on the puzzle, and it at the end of the day it makes a grand picture. of your life, and that could be like your legacy. So your purpose could equate your legacy. What did you do on earth? And I guess
Yeah,
that could be uh the cursor on the in the book of life, basically your purpose, like, you know what I mean?
yeah.
So that's kind of interesting, and that was a great point. I don't even know what to add to that, to be honest. You concluded on a very serious note, and it actually got my mind wondering. It's like, dang, that was great. That was excellent.
Well, I just want to share these last action steps, and then we'll close out.
Definitely.
Because I think some people say, okay, well, I hear what you're saying, but what do we do?
Mhm.
So here are a couple of action steps that I think you'll be great to start out. And one is, surrender your career to God. So basically to say, okay, God, I don't know what I'm here and I'm doing these things, but I'm not sure if this is what I'm supposed to be doing, but just ask God to help you in your career to seek his glory, seek his direction as far as what those next steps are. The other area is to ask God to just ask God to reveal your purpose in your current environment. Whatever you're doing right now, what is He calling you to do?
Mhm.
Then the other thing is to identify your spiritual gifts and strengths, and God gives you clues. Yeah, and we kind of know what we're good at, and if we're not sure what we're good at, ask a close friend or family member, because they know who you are anyway. They will tell you, yeah, you're good at that, or no, you ain't good at that. They'll
Mhm.
be honest. Serve where you are with excellence, and we talked about this earlier. So whatever you do, be about excellence. If you're gonna be a floor sweeper, sweep with excellence. If you're
Mhm.
washing dishes, make sure them dishes are clean and sparkling and no debris on them. Take small steps towards the dream that God keeps highlighting in your life. This one small step. You don't have to. It's not a. You don't. You don't become things overnight. It always takes time. So just take the necessary small steps, and God and will guide and direct you as you take the small steps. And then finally, seek mentorship and accountability. I think the crucial thing about um, finding purpose and growing in God is getting help, like getting someone in your life that you can trust, that can help guide you and can teach you and be truthful to you, to say, yeah, you're doing great in that area. No, you're not doing great in that area. And then be accountable. I think a lot of times, man, we do great in these certain areas, but we're not accountable. People can't, trust us or trust in us because, yeah, we may be the best lawyer there, but if you don't show up to your trials or you do terrible work, you're not accountable for your actions, then you defeat the whole purpose of doing something great because people can't count on you. So those are the couple of steps that I have, I think, will help you in finding your purpose with your career in mind.
Definitely. And just to wrap everything up, I appreciate everybody listening. And just really take a second to like reflect on everything that we said. I know it was a lot of information and a lot of, tidbits here and there on how to, um, follow God's purpose within your life. But just make sure you just like reflect on that. Just don't listen to this conversation and just go on about your day. I think we're doing this obviously for a purpose for you to for ourselves, obviously, but at the same time, we definitely want to help everybody that's listening when it comes to what their purpose is and what they have called on their lives. But if this did resonate with you and you want to share it, feel free to share it with your friends and family.
Mhm.
We would love for you guys to spread the word, spread our channel, spread our message, spread our podcast to more and more people. Definitely, if you find it insightful and helped you guys out. And then just want to end it off there. Anything else you want to add?
No, I mean, if you like it, like it. Please subscribe if you like what we're doing. And like Jared said, to share it with friends and family. We appreciate everything that you guys do, and feel free to comment. If you have some
Definitely.
thoughts and ideas about what we're saying here or future episodes, please let us know, and we'll be more than happy to check it out, see if we can make it happen. So
Sounds
that's it
good.
for me.
I'm good too.
All right, guys. Well, until next time, God bless. Take care. We'll see ya.
Catch you later.